Okay, good evening. Wild Friday. It looked like the general indexes in the stock market moved up at the end of the day. Um, Looks like we did well on all of the four funds that I cover in terms of capturing the weeklies. Most everything was down, but that helped the weeklies. But anyway, one at a time. Let's jump into BIDO and YBIT. YBIT, our soon to be sort of hero here, hopefully on its payout. So, again, this nuance that I was telling you comes into play with BIDO. I own BIDO and was tracking the dividend. So, after hours, ProShares, who is the issuing fund, the way YieldMax is for YBIT, declared a dividend. It just kept going up, right? Last month was $1.48. This was, I had kind of predicted 209. I thought they could get that high on BIDO, but it was $1.7679, yada, 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 right? So, which is pretty substantial, right? It is a higher price, so YBIT should beat it in terms of its yield. And you always compare yield to price. If I tell you something paid $1 or $2 and it's a $50 security and another one's a $20 security, obviously your yield is higher, right? So let's jump in and I'll explain that nuance. So on 531, I know there's a lot of stuff here. They rolled, let me go to that sheet. Figure out what to show you in what order is always the challenge. So here were our simple trades, right? No additional shares were bought. They ended up at 725,000 shares, which is what they started with. And they, as you know, on their weeklies, they bought to close $1.09. Always interesting because these flex options, they're required to buy them back. So I never really understand that they have to pay $1.09. Why not, or $1.09? Why did they pay 1.9 cents? Almost 2 cents. Well, normally that's nothing, but on 3,800 contracts times 100 shares, it still is a little bit of money. And then they sold short of 2,700 for next week. Again, these are weeklies, not synthetics. Okay, and got 29 cents. So let's go look at that operationally. Okay, so my orange is so they paid 38 cents. So 1.9, call it almost 2 cents, is not a particular big deal. Here it is. But it's kind of interesting, and you say, well, we collected 144,000 and we had to pay back 7,000. Well, percentage-wise, it's small, right? So our gain was 137,000 out of the 144,000. But as a retail guy and having done options for 35 years or more, I look at it and say, well, first off, we would just let it expire, right? But when you want to write another one, you could wait 5 minutes to go and say, there's no chance it's going to run up to 28.5, right? It's trading at, 27.27, something like that. So anyway, I'm making a big deal and going on to a point, but it's just interesting. But I'm used to now the benefits of flex, which means they never get put the underlying stock because they couldn't. That would ruin their whole benefit of existing and adhering to the SEC rule that you can't have more than 10% of your fund in one stock. Well, they don't own any stock. They just mimic a stock or a security, BIDO in this case, by synthetics and then selling short or naked calls. So anyway, just education for you guys, right? So it's not like so they're forced to buy it at some price. But I think if they waited long enough, they could get a penny, but maybe they want to go ahead and put their next one on right away because you don't know what's going to happen on Monday. If BIDO Well, in this case, BIDO does drop. So that's the nuance that I was explaining. So look what they did for 6-7. These already existed, right? They put this one on Wednesday, put this one on Thursday, and then this big bulk of 3,800 matches what they sold, right? So they bought it back for 1.9 cents, and they collected 29 cents. Right? So they got 110,000. Now look at the strike price, right? The normal person would say, oh my God, they sold into the money, right? Why would they do that? Well, they didn't technically. So this is the nuance, right? I doubt any other YouTubers get this, who knows. But because I own it and because I track this so diligently, I knew this was in play, and I brought it out yesterday, and I just waited. Because initially they did the same thing here. They wrote a 27.5, and I said, oh my God. And then, it didn't impact Friday's price. But immediately after the market closed, ProShares comes out and said, we're paying $1.76. So I did the math, and that'll be the opening price with a caveat, right? So when I do my week, and the caveat is all dividends declared at the next pre-market, and especially with something like BIDO, because it has a pre-market buying and selling, and BTC, which it's the futures of, right? It tracks and buys the futures of BTC. That thing trades 24 hours a day. So the movement in the pre-market will be big, but I notice on these chat boards, Reddit, Yahoo, guys are always arguing, oh no, why did it drop, $1.76 on the open? I don't understand what happened. Well, it's not always on the open. The open is, U.S. stock markets, 6:30 in the West Coast, 9:30 on the East Coast. Yeah, I know it's 8:30 and Central, and, all these time zones. But there's a pre-market, and that's where your movement is. Technically, the way this works is once they declare the dividend, they move the cash into a bucket and say the cash is no longer in the fund. So you know how people go through, and me and others, and in our holdings, we go through and we track all the net asset values, right? Well, immediately, it doesn't always show when I do it from YieldMax, but that's because I track YBIT's monies, not BIDO's monies. But they've had to earmark all of those shares of their owners for that $1.76, and hence it dropped. So the impact on YieldMax is their fund managers simply have to know that they don't want to go right at 29 and have it drop to, and get no premium. They have to go to like a 27, 27.5, and even that's $2 out. So sorry about my long rant on this, but I just wanted you to get this, right? And I think it will come into play even further when I tell you my newer prediction for the payment. Don't worry, it's still really good, but I've lowered it a little bit, and I'll explain to you what I think YieldMax will do, and they'll be conservative. All right, so let's go to the weeklies and I'll show you. So what I did on the weekly is I actually came in and reflected, right, this 25.21, which the math is, okay, what did it close at? Technically, it closed at 27.28, down 2.12%, right? We did way better. We only closed down 0.31 at 20.57. All right. But if you could go over the weekend and check the price, it's going to drop. I noticed in after hours it didn't drop, but it's all based on the timing, right? I didn't check till 3 hours after the close of the market, and then I saw what they had posted, right? But I didn't look at what time they posted it. But bottom line, trust me, it will be reflected. And then guys argue on these boards about, well, no, it doesn't. I see that it opened at, XYZ only, down $1. Or no, it was 250. You said it was only going to be 176. And what happens is the bidding, right? As soon as buyers come in, they change it. It's kind of like, on the New York and the Amex and everything and the NASDAQ, a stock will have an open. But if there's news or something that says, bombs dropped, a war broke out, if you're talking about the dollar or gold or, sensitive things, pre-market says, hey, the Dow pre-market futures or the S&P 500 pre-market's down 3% or down 2%, right? And that's the same thing here. This is a lock. This is the plan. It's going to be 25.51. However, the actual market dynamics of who wants to buy and who wants to sell, the bids and asks are going to ultimately, right? So, somebody will say, oh, well, why do you want a high dividend? It's just going to drop the same amount of the dividend. Sort of true, that's true, but then the market dynamics take place. So if people that want to buy that see that as they've been waiting for that price drop, they're going to rush in and buy it, and then the buying and selling control the price, right? That's why you notice when I do net asset value at the end, and I tell you the actual price, sometimes they really get out of kilter, right? So you could view that as a discount or a premium to what the net asset value. Okay, I'm done with going over all that. So we got 29 cents, we got 110,000. That turned us kind of positive, right? A negative is a positive, Pat. So that Pat had asked me, one of my long-term followers and earlier follows, or subscriber to my channel. So, again, Pat, I wrote you back and you can ask me where and how you want it explained. But in certain areas, we want a negative number, right? And in this case, we wanted a negative number. It means we're winning on our, but it all has to do with credits and debits, right? So that's why the 72.48, we get credited, and we got credited with all this money because we got paid it. But we have a liability, but we don't know what the liability is going to turn out to be, so it's always blank, right? And so ultimately we plugged in this one, right? So our stand to gain this coming week is you add all three of these, right? And I reflect that over on the weeklies, right? I say there's 167,000 out there for this coming week. And we've already captured 18.69. So we're ahead of the game on these smaller guys that have been in place. And this one will be confusing as heck, right? But we'll see what happens on Monday. All right. So I think I've kind of covered what I wanted. Let's look out on May. Is there anything else? Nah, we didn't add any shares, right? Which when we add shares, I imagine people are going to keep buying into YBIT going forward, expecting a good payout. So weeklies we've covered. Holdings pretty much I covered. Now, this is showing us, this is the NAV, right, of our underlying. That's not going to adapt. And this is saying, hey, we're selling at a discount to the NAV, which is how many shares and what are all the assets we own. This is the one that's likely to jump around, right? This newest 27. These guys we'd already sold, and as BIDO drops, they get lowered. It'll be interesting when if it's 25, 21, these should drop a lot more. Where we're going to get hurt potentially even more is this 36, right? We're so far out of the money that we're only 3 weeks away now. So this is going 3.4, 3.5, 4.5, 4.6, right? I assume that when it drops to 25.21, again, the market dynamics can change that. Maybe a whole bunch of people rush in and go, wow, BIDO at 25, I want it, right? So let's see what happens on that. This is, we didn't have any trades there, right? We had some recently, So and this is updated to reflect the holdings as of the close, but this could get even bigger. So let me jump in and get you to the key stuff. So the key stuff is payment, right? So this went up because I moved to the latest field where we collected the 110,000. So this had been 2 cents, 3 cents, 6 cents. So we're up to 21, right? Selling this new one. Okay, so they're going to declare this coming Wednesday. They have to make a decision what they want to pay out, right? Even though we have a paper loss, right? We have a captured synthetic of 5.6 million. We got this in April. We rolled a few times. We now have this in May. But we have a liability almost as big, paper loss, of, what they say, 4.6. That could get even higher when BIDO's 25 or whatever it finishes that first trading day. Remember, the first trading day, second trading day, and then they'll decide the evening after the second trading day. Basically on Tuesday, June 4th in the evening, they'll make all their single stock fund distribution decisions, the YieldMax team. And they have to take into consideration, right? So what I'm saying is, this is awesome. We got an $8 gain, right? Now that could drop a little more if more shares come in here. It could be 750, 740, it go down to 7. And the naked eye would look at this and say, well, we got 21 cents we earned. We've got another 7.96, so call it 8. Maybe they'll pay us half and we'll get 4.20. If we had a long history and we had reserves built up, it's possible. But I don't see that happening. Why? Because they're also smart enough to go out here and say, oh, you got a 4.6. Well, what happens when that's 25, right? This 9 is not quite enough, right? What is that? That's $9 on a $25 stock. Yeah, it more or less, but that would be 36 minus 25 is 9, but there's not that much time premium. So this isn't hugely off. It just will be real interesting. This is within 3 weeks now, right? So when I rewrite this to 25.21, they may have already sort of taken that into consideration. We'll have to see. And also, the YieldMax people can rewrite their own, but then they're going to take that loss and it's going to drop it right away, right? So I don't think they'll do that before declaration, but it will definitely be interesting. So I could see an argument to say this is $2 only. I could see an argument to say it's maybe 3, right? So I know I'm unclear, but I've always said it's 2 plus. Sometimes I was saying 250 plus, but we didn't know what the BIDO declaration was going to be, what the amount was going to be. Some people thought it was going to go back to $1, right? So having as I said, I'm a shareholder, so I'll get that. Interesting, they pay a day after and they declare like 3 days before. It's just how weekends come into play. We're pretty fortunate this week that our declaration falls on a Wednesday and then we pay on Friday for all of our single stock funds. As you know, it's not for the YMAXs and the YMAGs and the LTs. Okay, so I think I've hammered this one home. Still very optimistic. Would I love to get $3 or $3.50? Absolutely, right? But let's see. I would be shocked if it wasn't $2. Again, they want these funds to be, and remember, with BIDO paying that, they want some of that marketplace. So they're clearly going to pay $2 on this. Let's just see how much more than $2 they pay. Okay, Bruce out. Have a great evening. I'll try and get some more videos out this evening. It may roll into Saturday morning. But appreciate you all. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends. I grow my channel really from friends telling friends. I try to post some things on Twitter and Reddit and Yahoo groups. But honestly, I think word of mouth is the best. If you appreciate what I do, tell somebody you know, right? These funds are phenomenal, right? I don't care what you choose. This kind of yield hasn't really been available to a retail trader investor. I'd call it investor. I know some of you trade it, and like I said, going forward, I'm going to really try to help. As you know, I'm seeing a turn potentially in the markets in June. This isn't a big crash, but maybe we have a 5% pullback. I hope not. I don't have a perfect crystal ball, but and the market surged up at the end of the day, the S&P 500. But it appears that we could be. And part of the problem is when we have a pullback, a lot of this BTC has been trading with risk on and risk off, just like the markets, you know. I would think it's a store of wealth. It's a digital store of wealth, and it signifies safety. In a lot of ways it does, like gold. But, you know, all these assets, when you have a liquidity pull, right? Money gets sucked out of the market because all of the billionaires and, you know, the Mark Zuckerbergs and Elon Musk and all these people that worth so much money, they know that the stuff's more at a top. You think the Nvidia CEO isn't selling some stock? And sometimes they have to based on their options. But, you know, when you got these massive gains, and yet at the same time, you know, the market's probably, with being an election year, that's why I don't see a big sell-off. But we clearly could scare some people. So don't get scared out of your EOMax funds. You know, you're in them for income. They're going to pay you income. The strategy would be to, what's the word I'm looking for? Hedge, to hedge your risk. And that's where I want to get into. So I'm looking forward to do a live, you know, coming up in the next week. And again, just tell anybody, like and subscribe, help the channel. I'll help you so many ways, right? Pay it forward. All right, guys, Bruce out. Not a financial advisor. It's not financial advice. It's for fun and education. See ya. Bye.